All right, all right. Can you guys hear me? We're getting started here. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Give me a thumbs up or a one in the comments so I know I can hear you, or actually that you can hear me rather. I don't need to hear you guys. Throw a one in the chat. Okay, thanks, Luke. Appreciate it. Thanks for clicking the button too to show your name. I appreciate that as well. If you guys are on TikTok, let me know if you can hear me. If you're watching on TikTok, throw a one in the chat if you can hear me. I know we're good on Facebook. I just want to double check on Tickety Talk and make sure that everyone can hear me okay. If you haven't listened to the podcast that dropped this morning, it's on the most important hire, and that's what we're going to talk about starting out. How do you show your name? Right above this video or below it somewhere, there should be a link in the comments that says click here to show your name. It should be a link somewhere around the video. It should be like in the description above the video on Facebook. If you're on TikTok, just jumping on here, do me a favor, drop a one in the comments if you can hear me. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. But the podcast that dropped this morning is your most important hire. That's what we're going to be talking about. Yeah, thanks, Luke. And thanks, Spec Holmes, for dropping the one. I appreciate it. So everybody can hear okay. We're loud and ready to go. Awesome. So the most important hire. A lot of people believe that the most important hire in your business is going to be a lead guy, a foreman, a project manager, a lead carpenter, something like that. Some type of lead position out in the field that's going to allow you to get off the tools and work on your business. And while that is a very important hire for sure, it's not the most important hire that you'll make in your business. The most important hire you're going to make is going to be some type of office manager, some type of office position, whether it's an executive assistant, whether it's someone who answers the phone, an office manager, personal assistant. Don't get too hung up on the official job title of who it is, but it's just someone who's going to be in the office, who's going to have the position of running a lot of the back end parts of your business. Also, if you're on TikTok, just sidebar, is my color of the screen changing? Like, is my face in the background changing color while I'm talking? Or even on Facebook, let me know if it's like going in and out of hues, because on my end it is. It's going like kind of a creamy color, and then it goes cold. Like it keeps going back and forth. Okay. I don't know how to fix that, but at least I know it's doing it. It's not just me. It's a little annoying, and I need to figure it out because it does it on the podcast too. Um, yeah, okay. I appreciate you guys letting me know. So, why is the office manager the most important hire? Because it's going to free up a lot of the annoying parts of your business that need to be done. We know that the tools, if you're on the tools, if you're swinging the hammer, we know that you have to do the production stuff. But if you're doing production stuff, you still have to do all of the admin stuff. You still have to do all of the, paying the bills, sending invoices, collecting payments, making deposits, creating estimates, writing the estimates, sending the estimates, doing marketing, posting on social media, responding to emails, doing the sales, like all of the stuff that has to be done in your business, payroll, everything else. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at your comments you guys are having. Yeah, Spec Holmes says, I have an office manager and I use a payroll company. Yeah, 100%. Like a lot of people that I interview or talk to, contractors that I talk to, and I was this exact same way. I'm the same way. They said if something were to go bad in their business, like economy or whatever, and they had to fire people in their business to stay afloat because there wasn't enough work. Everyone that I've talked to has said the last person they would hire, or I'm sorry, the last person they would fire is an office manager. Like that is the last person they would fire. They would fire all of their field staff, go back out and onto the tools, but they would keep their office manager unless they just absolutely had to get rid of them, because the office manager is such an important role to the business. And Angie, I saw your comment. You said you are the office manager. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but that's a very important, yeah, job security, 100%. It's a very important role that you have for the company that you work for, right? And the the term office manager can mean a lot of different things. Like there's so many variants of tasks and duties that they can do depending on from company to company. But some of the major ones, let me pull up my list here that I had because it just makes it easier for me. But by the way, all this information I go into detail on the podcast. If you haven't listened to it, I would definitely go and do that. But some of the things that that the office manager slash assistant, whatever you want to call them, can do is answer the phone, schedule jobs, schedule appointments, like estimating appointments, send estimates and invoices. They can do accounts payable, they can do accounts receivable, they can order materials, they can create document processes, they can do client follow-up, they can handle your email, they can do onboarding new employees, they can create documents, they can do social media posting, they can do social media management. There's so many different things that they can do, and that's not like an exhaustive list, but some of the most important one. Yeah, Luke says be a filter, right? That's where you kind of get more into the personal assistant side of it, which again, there's no like everyone fits in this one box of office manager. Some people have personal assistants that like just do personal stuff, and they 100% manage their inbox, they 100% manage their calendar, 100% manage any access to that person. Where office manager can still do that on a smaller scale. They may not manage your inbox, they may not manage all of your calendar, but they can. There's no like that has to do this or have to not do that. Like it's whatever you need it to be. Some people, they really enjoy the accounts receivable part of it, and they just want to be in all aspects of that. That's fine. They don't have to do that. Others like, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to know the money's going to the bank. And so that's the benefit, is that they can be custom tailored to what you need them to be in the office. Spec Holmes says boat captain and first mate go down with the ship. Yeah. Yeah. They're kind of, attached at the hips. Now, Angie says she is the office manager, but she's also part owner. So that can definitely be, a lot of times you see in construction, you see a husband and wife team. And this is an interesting topic that I wanted to talk about as well, because I have a new client who joined the Profit Club, and he asked this question in the group about this, and that can be a good duo. It's very normal for a lot of men who own the construction business and their wife runs the office. Like that can be a very normal scenario. The other normal scenario is one person owns the company and the spouse has nothing to do with the business. That's how I was with my construction company, and even my coaching business. Like my wife is not a part of any of it. She has her own career, her own things that she does. She has nothing to do with my business other than keep all my money. No, that's a joke. So that's another thing. But here's one aspect that I want you guys to consider as well. And that is that sometimes your wife or your spouse, if it doesn't matter who it is, but your spouse or your partner is doing the office work for you, but they, one, may not want to do that. They're just being supportive. And two, they may not be very qualified to do that. And that can be a problem, right? So one of the things that we do as contractors is we like to hire like family members and friends and relatives to do different things for our business, because we feel like it's going to be cheaper. We hire our nephew to do our social media because he just graduated college and he's all into tech and stuff, so he's going to do our social media for us, even though he's never done it like for a paid profession ever in his life. We hire our wives or our spouses or our partners to do the office because we know we need help there, but they've never done it before. Or maybe they have. Maybe they used to be an office manager for a dentist, and then they got pregnant and had kids, and they raised their kids for 10 years, and now they want to go back into the workforce, and so they're going to come work for you as an office manager. So they have some experience as an office manager, but it may not be the right thing. So I was talking with one of the clients, and he's like, my wife helps out, but she may not, she doesn't necessarily want to do that. Well, first off, if you have someone who doesn't want to do that position, don't put them in that position. Like, if you were an employee, like, tell me one employee who wants to do a job that they don't want to do, right? Just because they're your spouse or your partner doesn't mean by default they should want to help you, right? So don't force people that don't want to do that job to do that job. Now, it's different, and my wife's helped out at an occasion where it's like, I just had so much work to do and I could not get it done, and I just needed her to help out for a couple nights, doing X task, right? And it was like 5 hours of work, and then that was it. It was not a continuation. It wasn't 5 hours a week. It was just like a 5 hour, help me get caught up, and then we're back to normal. Like, that's a different scenario than I want you to come in and help me in my business. Now, the second part of that is the spouse wants to help you in your business. They like doing that work. They want to help you, but they're not actually the best fit for what you're doing. A lot of times your spouse can sabotage your growth. They can sabotage your business, not on purpose, but without knowing, through ignorance or through lack of skill. And so not always is it a good idea for your spouse or partner to actually be involved in the business. You need to make sure that they're going to be qualified, right? So there's lots of different dynamics going on here. And then people like Luke, who is on the Facebook group, he's one of my clients. Him and his wife are business partners. His wife handles one aspect of the business. Luke handles the other aspect of the business, and they have a good working relationship where they know when and when not to engage, in work and family and all that stuff. They have a very specific dynamic that they figured out that works for them, and that is great if you can do that. I know some couples who like their relationship is almost ruined because they work together. My wife and I would kill each other if we worked together. We just would. We don't work well together at all. Anytime have her helped me do stuff, it almost always ends in an argument because we just don't work well together. But if you separate that, then it's perfectly fine. Like, we have no problems. So you just got to understand the limitations of where you're at. But it's so tempting, especially if your spouse or your partner is a stay-at-home partner, if they're raising the kids or they just don't work, it's so tempting for them to say, hey, can you come and help in my business? Because to you, it's cheap labor, right? Because you're probably not going to pay them anything. You're like, well, you're an owner, so you're just working to make, so our business makes money. Well, you're shortchanging your partner or your spouse. And two, you are, it's not realistic, because if you ever have to replace that person and you're not paying them, then you have to all of a sudden start paying someone. And if you don't have the proper margins in your business to cover that overhead, then it's unrealistic. So if your spouse is working for you and you're not paying them anything, you guys just take owner draws, and then she decides she can't do it anymore, or she gets hurt or can't do it, or he or whoever, they can't do it. Now you got to replace that person and, put a 40, 50, $60,000 a year person on payroll. All of a sudden, like, all of your profit's gone because you haven't been appropriately factoring that into your labor rate or into your profit margins, right? So this is a lot of stuff that you need to take into consideration. I want to pause here and look at some of the comments because there were a lot that come through. John, possibly you may need to start with an office manager. The tricky, and I want to get more into this in a second, but I want to go through the questions. The tricky part about hiring an office manager is that you have to be there initially to train them. So if you're working out in the field, and then you hire an office manager, it's going to be very difficult to get them up to speed. Let me go back here to some of these questions. Spec Home says, if you use your wife, pay her the going rate. 100%. So I just touched on how much is the course, ZBL concrete design. How much is the course? Which course are you talking about? I'm not sure which course you're talking about. Angie says, I don't recommend it for every couple. I agree with that 100%. Oh, how can I join the group? Are you talking about the Profit Club? Is that the one you're talking about? Angie says, we have 20 years experience together. We are branching out on our own. Yeah, I just started reading TikTok comments. My guy, yeah. The Profit Club, if you want to, so I don't just, here's the thing about the Profit Club. I don't just let anybody in the group. You have to basically apply. So if you want to get more information about it, I can send you a link, or you can just go to hammerandgrind.com. You can go to right here on the screen, hammerandgrind.com, and get more information. And you can schedule, you can apply and schedule a call with me, and then we'll talk about it. But unfortunately, I don't let everybody in the group. Some people are not qualified, like business wise, like I can't help them in their business. And other people don't qualify personality wise, believe it or not. They don't have the right temperament or the right attitude. So it's not just open for anybody to join. Does that help, ZBL? If you, and there's also a couple different pricing options. So I don't want to just tell you because I don't know what's going to be the best fit for you. I have several different programs. All right, back to the, I think that's all the questions I've seen. Okay. If you guys have any other questions too, throw them in the comments. I'll break periodically and read those. So I don't know why the questions are not showing up on TikTok in the screen. Let me check something here real quick. I'll probably break it in the process. Okay. All right. My sound is fading in and out too. Is that true? You guys on Facebook, is my sound fading in and out? It could be just distance away from the mic, or it could be my actual audio input device. Let me take a drink here. It matches the color fading. That's interesting. So when it, like right now, you can hear me okay, but then when it fades to like that grayish tone is when the sound fades out. It's so weird because the color fading it has to do with, I think, distance to the camera. See, if I put my hand there, it changes the color, and if I remove it, it goes back to the normal color. So did that change the audio when I did that, Angie? John says it sounds good. It didn't. That's fine. Well, I think why it's different is because if I don't move, if I sit really still and I don't move my arms, it won't change color. It has to do with I think some automatic lighting adjustments with the camera. Because like I said, if I move my hand up here, see how it changes the color. But I think a lot of times when I move my face, or if I get like this, I'm past the mic. See, if I move back, I'm in the color zone and the mic is right in front of my face. So yeah, sit very still. I think that's a good observation. Nito says, can you talk about getting permits and when we need to get them? Yes, you need to get them on every job. Actually, it just depends on your requirements, your local requirements, local and state requirements. Every single city, every county, every state is totally different. You really need to check with your local and your county and state departments and find out. Some of them are a certain dollar amount. Some of them are certain types of work you're doing. It just totally depends. And there's like, I don't know how many thousand counties and cities there are, but it can be literally be different in every single county and city. We have where I'm at, I live in one county, one city next to the big county and big city. And the big city, you got to have permits for every single thing under the sun. It's like ridiculous the amount of permits and licenses you had to have. But the county I live in, they don't even really give a crap. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you can pull permits, you can do everything yourself. You don't have to have a license or nothing. So it's totally different. Um, Sorry, I'm getting distracted because there's my mouse. There's like something's loading in the background. Um, cool. So back to the office manager. If you guys have any other questions, throw them in the chat while we're talking, and we'll get to those. Here's some things they can also help you do. Office managers can help you in relation to your business. They can help you be organized. Not just in the office, but organized in the entire business. So typically, and then I don't like using. I mean, I do all the time. I make general statements and stereotypical statements all the time. I don't know why I said that because I do it all the time. But generally, when you have an office manager, they're going to be more along the lines of an S personality, or at least these are the ones that you would typically want, I should say. But they're going to be an S personality on the DISC personality profile. They're going to be more steady. They're going to be the type of people that don't typically enjoy like conflict. They don't like a lot of changes and things to be disrupted. They like steady, like everything to be steady. And that's actually who you want in the office. See, a lot of times what we do is when we hire for people that have the same type of personality as us because we typically talk the same, we get along the same, we have the same language, and we have the same kind of like, I don't want to say outlook on life, but we do things the same. And so we like to hire people that are typically like us so that's easier for us to communicate with them. The problem is you really want someone in the office manager position to be more level-headed, to be more steady, to be more conscious with the communication with the clients. And you really want someone who's going to almost be the opposite of you. And that may sound kind of scary to have someone the opposite of you, but it will actually help balance you out. So if you're one type of personality more so than the other, like a high D personality who's very direct, myself, I'm a D personality, very direct and to the point and sometimes too harsh, can be very critical, deliver information too blunt. It's good to have someone in the office that can kind of check you on that, right? If you got an employee who comes in late, a field guy who comes in late several times and you're pissed off and you call him in your office, you're like, you can't be doing this, blah, 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 blah. And that office manager either hears the conversation or you tell them, they could say, that Brad, that probably was a little hard. You're probably a little harsh on them. And so like you can, a good office manager can help balance you out. It also helps bring a softness to your business because a lot of times in blue collar, you get, roughneck people that are all kind of, not always, but they're just a little rougher around the edges. Maybe they use vulgar language. Maybe they tell, inappropriate jokes, all things that happen on job sites. It's nice to have an office manager who can help offset some of that behavior that happens in the business. And usually, an office manager is going to be a female. Not always. I had both a female and a male office manager, but they're usually going to be a female. They're usually going to be more of a reserved person, although they don't have to be. And so it's just something to take into consideration is that having someone that is opposite of you is actually a good thing. My office manager that I had, And one other key point I'll say is that it's also good if they are, yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say, Angie. You said they need to have nice, broad, round shoulders. They need to have thick skin, right? They can be, it can be you know, a soft spoken, kind hearted person, but they need to also have thick skin. They got to be able to deal with a lot of crap. So the office manager that I had, she came from, she was an apartment manager, and she was sick and she had been doing it for like 10 years or so as an apartment manager, and she was finally just tired of dealing with that BS. But she had dealt with, usually they deal with kind of the rough part of people. They're dealing with how they live, right? And so there's a lot of personal things that happen there, and they have to deal with a lot of stuff. And so they're very good communicators. Typically they can put up with a lot of crap. And so she was a, you know, she was a hard person, not like she was hard shoulder, broad shoulder, thick skin, whatever word you want to use. She had older brothers, you know, so she could hold her own. But she was also very good at communicating. And so she was very good with clients. She was very good with, you know, follow up, you know, customer service, all of that stuff. But she was also kind of a no BS kind of person. So I remember one time when I was going through a period of trying to find a new software to use, and when she hired on, I trained her up on the one that we were currently using, and then I switched like 6 months later, and I used that for like 2 or 3 months, and then I actually ended up hating it, so I switched again. And I was in the process of really adding and changing a bunch of processes, because every time I got a new software, you know, there were things that were missing for the new one that the old one used to do, and I had to create new processes. And finally she sat me down and was like, look, you're not allowed to get any new software. And I mean, she was being serious. I mean, she was joking, but she was also being serious. Like, you're not allowed to get any new software. And some people are like, well, I would never let my office manager talk to me like that. I tell you, I loved it. I loved it. I love the fact that she like basically stood up to me and said, look, this is how it's going to be. You're making my job more difficult, and really it's making your own job difficult. You don't realize it. Like, I really appreciated someone that basically stood up and said, you know, we need to stop doing this because it's making everything more difficult. So I appreciated that. So that's the type of person that you want. You don't just want a yes man, yes ma'am, that, you know, that's going to tell you everything you want to hear. You want someone that's going to feel comfortable enough in your business to give you feedback, and you be able to take it and not be scared to give feedback. So those are just some things that's going to help you uh, in some tips on that. We kind of touched on it, like where you can find you know, good managers is the apartment managers, people that deal with the general public. It can be even like account managers, people that maybe they work for medical and they have to deal with accounts. You know, they're like account managers for like their billing or different things like that. People that deal with the general public on a regular basis and have to deal with a lot of different bull crap can be good potential candidates. They don't have to like work in the construction industry to be good candidates. Now, obviously, if they have that experience, that's good. Like, you would want that kind of experience because it helps to, they already know part of it, right? But you can also easily hire bad people that work in the industry. You can find people that are currently working in construction as like an office manager, and then you bring them into your environment. And if it's like your first hire, and you say, hey, you know, I need your help setting up this position and a lot of the tasks that I'm going to do, they could potentially bring a lot of bad habits into your business. They could potentially do things worse, because you may hire someone that worked for a plumber for 20 years, and then the plumber went out of business, and so she needed a new job, and she comes in. Well, that plumber, he'd been doing stuff on paper the whole time. Like, everything was analog, nothing was digital. and then you're a very, younger, more digital focused company, and you bring her in, and you can overwhelm them with technology and digital if they've never done it, to that extent. So just hiring someone with experience is not always the best, experience in construction and the service industry is not always the best move. Just because someone applies and is like, I've been working, for a plumbing office as an office manager for 10 years. It can be good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to be good. So definitely be asking some questions on that interview about how they do some stuff in their business. Just something else to know here. If you're hiring a business I'm sorry, if you're hiring an office manager for the first time and you haven't ever hired one, you're going to get a lot of stuff wrong. Like, it's just going to happen. You're probably, if you hire an office manager, they may last 6 months, they may last a year, but they're probably going to end up leaving. And here's why. It's because you don't have it all figured out yet. It's a new relationship. It's a new position that you don't have it figured out. So if you hire someone who does not have any experience as an office manager whatsoever, and then you put them into that position, you're probably going to burn them out. You're probably going to have a lot of frustration. They're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to be upset. And it's probably not going to work out. So if you're going to hire someone, even though if they don't have experience working in the construction or service industry, it's definitely good to find someone who has office manager experience, or at least, some of the major tasks. Like maybe they were accounts payable manager, or maybe they were accounts receivable manager, or, they did customer service. Like, you want to find someone who has that experience. Don't hire your daughter who just graduated from college with an associate's degree in business administration and think they're going to be the perfect fit. They're not. Like, not if you're going to expect them to figure it all out. Right? Now, if you have an office manager and your daughter just graduated and you want to make her accounts payable or accounts receivable, then sure, that's a different scenario. But most of us are not to that level yet, right? Um, the other thing I want to talk about is the where's it at here? I was going to talk about it, and I just forgot. Oh, apartment managers, office managers are currently working for. And another one to consider, this is what I want to talk about, is time. Now, a lot of people think that you have to hire full time. Like, to have an office manager, you got to hire them full time. You don't. You don't have to hire them full time. You can hire part time people. A very good pool of people to hire from are like stay at home moms who are now trying to get back into the workforce, and they only want to work part time. They may only want to work 6 hours a day. Maybe they're transitioning from being a full time stay at home mom to doing a full time job. And if you can find someone who wants to make that transition with you, like this year, they only want to work, 25 hours a week. And then next year, when their kid graduates or goes to high school or whatever, then they want to be able to go full time. That might work out perfect for you because they can transition with you. Or maybe it's for the next 6 months they want to work part time and then go full time. Like that can actually benefit you, but you don't have to hire someone full time. There's people out there that only want to work part time. They may be retired. They may have been an office manager of a major, construction company, like a commercial company, and they retired, right? But they still want to work 2 days a week to make some additional money. That can be a wealth of information. So don't get caught in this idea that they have to be a full-time person and that they also have to work in your like office building. Like, you have to have an actual physical office for them to work in. It doesn't have to be. You can hire someone who can work at home potentially. Now, there's some logistical things you have to work through. But what I'm saying is, don't use these as excuses to not hire someone. Don't say, well, I can't ever hire an office manager because I work out of my house, or I can't hire an office manager because, I can't afford to pay someone full time. There's people out there that are willing to work part time. There's people that will work from home. There's people that will work in your home if you have the space. When I hired my first office manager, she worked in my house. Now I have a dedicated office and I had a bathroom, that was next to that. And so it's kind of isolated from the rest of my house, but she still worked in my house. And there were plenty of days when I wasn't there. She was the only one there. And I had 2 dogs and she would like play with the dogs. So it required a specific, type of personality and person who's willing to do that. And again, I'm not saying that every person wants to do that, but there are people that definitely will do that. They will work in your house and they will work part-time or they will work remotely. It doesn't have to be a full-time person that works in your shop. Now, I eventually moved into my shop. I built out offices in my shop that I lease and, had a place for an office manager. So just keep in mind, like, don't use those as excuses. We all want to use those as excuses and be flexible, right? Sometimes maybe they want to work from 9 to 2 because they want to take their kid to school in the morning and then come to work and then leave early to go pick their kid up at 2:30 or whatever time it is. And so just be flexible with that, right? And that may work out the best for everyone. So that's just the mothers or people that want to work part-time is another source you can find somebody. Here's some tips on managing office managers if you've never done it before. Probably the biggest mistake that I see contractors doing, and you hear about this, is they give them the keys to the castle. So it's like, okay, here's everything about my business. Here's my bank accounts. Here's the online banking. Here's checks. Give them check writing ability. Like, you just give them the keys of the castle. And those are the ones that, 2 or 3 years later, you see that someone's like, oh, my office manager embezzled $80,000 from me and put me out of business. It's like, they didn't, I mean, technically they embezzled the money, but it's your fault because you gave them the opportunity to do that, right? You became too trusting of someone. And I'm not saying that you need to like not trust people. You do need to trust people, but there's easy ways to put safeguards in place so that one person doesn't have access to everything. It's easy to do that. So don't give them the keys to the castle. Spec Home says the next big hire for me is an AI assistant. I mean, an AI assistant or a VA? Because an AI assistant it's not even a hire. Like, you could do that right now. Or are you talking about a VA? If you can elaborate on that. That's another thing, is that you can hire VAs. So this is something that I actually do in my coaching business. It doesn't have to be one person. Now, it can add more logistics and it can add more potentially headache to your business, but you don't have to hire one person to be your office manager. You can actually hire out you can segment out different parts of your business. And so if you are working on the tools or you're not working on the tools, April, that's what I'm getting ready to tell you. You can hire a VA, which is a virtual assistant. It's an assistant who works virtually, meaning they will never be in person. They can live in other states, they can live in other countries. So the videos on TikTok and all my short form videos and my YouTube, anything that has video in it that's not like a live video that you're watching live, anything that is edited in video form, I have a virtual assistant that does that for me. She does it full time, and she lives in another country. She does not live in the United States, and so because of that, I can. It's less expensive than hiring someone full time in the United States because the cost of living is different, right? So she'll watch this video is live on. She'll be editing her own video about me talking about her, but it's a virtual assistant that helps you. That's just one little element, right? I have another virtual assistant who's part-time who helps me on my back end stuff that I use. I have software that I use on the back end for CRM and different aspects of my business. And she's part-time. She only helps me anywhere from 1 to 5 hours a week on just very specific things that I need her to do. Like she's skilled in that software that I use. So you can have VAs that help you in your business, and they can be out of the country or out of state, whatever, it doesn't matter. But again, you just don't give them keys of the castle, right? So you limit what they have access to. But let's say you want someone who can edit your videos. Well, that can be a VA out of the country. It could be cheaper that way. Let's say you just need someone. All you need is someone to answer the phone, and that's it. You don't really need anything else. Answer the phone and set appointments. Well, that could possibly be a third party service. It could be a company that does that for you, which you're going to pay a little bit more because the owner has to make money. Or you can go out yourself and hire your own VA and do that for you. Now, things to consider if you're going to do that is like language barrier, and also time changes, difference in time zones. But you can hire a VA that just answers the phone for you. Like you don't have to necessarily hire a full-blown office manager. If you have the choice of hiring like a full-blown full-time office manager versus several different VAs, I would recommend hiring a full-time office manager because there's more fluid, and there's more what's the word I'm looking for? Syncrasy between having one person that kind of has their fingers in a little bit of everything in the business, right? That would be my recommendation, but it's certainly not a requirement. So those are just a couple things. Build in the safeguards. Don't give them keys to the castle. They're not going to be rough and tough. They're probably not going to be rough and tough like your field guys. So you may have to have a little bit different communication style. One thing I will tell you that I did wrong, and this is why a lot of office managers will quit, is you overwhelm them with too much stuff. You expect them to learn everything in like 2 weeks. It's going to take probably 6 months to learn everything. And so when you're hiring for an office manager position, it's not the same as a field position. So when you're hiring them, you should just start with one type of task. Usually it's going to be your CRM, your project management, like whatever your main software is, whether it's QuickBooks or you use, Co-Construct or Builder-Trend, whatever. That's usually going to be the main thing and where you're going to start. So like you would just start them with, here is our CRM or project management software that we use. Basically learn everything about it. And that could take 3 months right there, depending on how intricate and how much stuff there is to learn. But you just teach them what they need to learn, and then you build on it. Don't say, here's the 7 different softwares that we use, and here's the 15 different processes that we do on a daily basis, because you're just going to overwhelm them and they're probably going to quit. So you got to start with one thing, make sure they master it, and then move on to the next thing. And one final tip on that is the best way to teach people is to tell them how to do it. Like tell them, right? Say it to them. Sometimes you can tell and show at the same time, but you tell them how to do it, you show them how to do it, then you have them explain it back to you how to do it, and then you have them actually do it, right? And then you can have them either document it or have them teach you how to do it. Like that's kind of the process. So you tell them how to do it, then you show them how to do it, then you have them tell you how to do it, then have them show you how to do it. Like that's how you know if someone retains the information. Once they've done that, then you can have them document the process so that if they ever leave, now it's already documented for someone else. Spec home, that's what I said earlier. You can hire an office manager with construction office background, but if you can find that person, that's great. But they can also bring a lot of bad habits. So that's what I was talking about earlier. I don't know if you caught that or not. it's harder for someone to hire if you're hiring your first office manager, it's going to be very difficult to hire a seasoned construction office background office manager because they're working for a company that may have, 5, 10, 20, 50 employees, and they're used to doing things a lot differently than a 1 to 2 to 3 employee person, business with no office manager. Like they would want to have, like, they would have to want to say, I don't want to deal with the craziness of being working for a big company. I want to go work for a small company where I have a lot more impact in the business. Like, if that's the person that you can get a hold of, by all means, I would hire that person 100%. Because not everybody wants to work in a big, fast paced environment. So if you can hire someone who's wanting to kind of almost downgrade and even be okay with a pay cut, then yeah, I mean, that might be a home run hire. April says, I need office support so badly. I'm having such a hard time finding the right person. What are you doing now, April, to try and find those people? Nose itches. Start putting your comments in too, guys. We got about 5 or 10 minutes left. So if you got any final comments or questions, throw them in there. Yeah, April, what are you doing to try and find those people? Networking with people. I know I've tried every platform. I'm assuming you're posting on like social media as well. Like you're making a post on Facebook and then, sharing that and having all your family and friends share that as well. Okay. Um, do you know it's hard to answer this question. Speckholm says my first office manager was me in a whiteboard. Yeah. Um, it's hard to say because you may be posting ads or, job ads, but they may not be very attractive. So it's hard to say, like, are you not getting applicants because the job posting is not very good, or are you not getting applicants because there's just not very many people out there, or they're not the right people that are applying? You know what I'm saying? It's hard to know. I don't know that about what you're doing. You were using a recruitment services, but it's not been successful. Which one were you using? Which recruitment service? One that I would potentially look at is called Applicant Pro. You can check them out. They specialize in the trade industry, like service type jobs. So you might try Applicant Pro. There's a couple other ones out there, but they're really expensive. Like they can find you some help, but they're really expensive. You're getting applicants, but those that I have hired have just not been the right fit. Why do you say that? Why do you say they haven't been the right fit? So that can get into, your interview process. If you're getting applicants, then it could be that you're like, and I don't know this, I'm just saying it can be that you're not good at interviewing people. So you're not good at pre-qualifying them. It could be that what you're looking for is not realistic. Yeah, I mean, Spec Holmes is saying you got to qualify better. I mean, that's true. You do got to qualify better, but I don't have enough information or enough data, April, to even like suggest one way or the other. But having a good phone interview questions, having good in-person interview questions can help eradicate some of that. Indeed. Oh, for the recruitment services, yeah, I probably wouldn't trust them with the recruiting side of it. Um, I would So you said that you did hire them, or they just weren't a good the ones you interviewed weren't a good fit? Oh, the ones I hired have just not have been a good fit. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that. I really would like to hear more about why they weren't a good fit. When I hired my office manager, oh, excuse me. When I hired my office manager, I had two final candidates. One of them I really liked, and the other one I liked, but not as much. And my wife helped me with like the applicants and their data and stuff. And then after the phone interview and after the in-person interview, she asked me some questions. And it was my wife who convinced me to hire the person that was not my first choice. And she turned out to be a really good office manager. So sometimes our instincts for hiring that position can be way off. So it's totally different than hiring like a field person. It's totally different. Yeah, that's another way you can do it is hiring. It's actually easier to hire through a temp agency for like an office position than it is for like a labor position. But yeah, if you go to a temp agency and I know a company that he wasn't construction, but they were in the data communications. Like all his employees, he hired through temp agencies. Yeah, one lady stole money and one called out a ton of times and became very unreliable. So that's what I mean by like stealing money is like don't give them keys to the castle, right? But to me, that I think Spec Holmes is on there. It sounds like you're not qualifying them good enough. Um, yeah, it is a qualification process. You really gotta before you get people access to any kind of money, you gotta really make sure that you qualify them correctly. I'm not giving them access to money for probably, the first month, if not 3 months. It's just not going to happen. I don't care how desperate I am. You just don't give them access to the money right away. So, um, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that it happened to you, April. Don't let that stop you from continuing. Keep trying to uh, find somebody, but I would just put a better qualification process in place. And one last thing you guys can do, you can, yeah, Spec Home says I'll never give access to money ever. I mean, it's like I had my office manager whenever we got checks, she would process the checks, right? Or if they paid by credit card, paid invoices, like there's not really anything they can do because it's all automatic and they're not like doing anything like that. But all she would do for the checks is like enter in the information and then scan the checks for me because I would scan every check. But she never had access to like bank accounts, never had access to, blank checks to write checks, none of that stuff. So you can access that to as much as possible. Um, I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, I totally forgot what I was gonna say. That's all I got for today, guys. If you have any last questions, you can shoot me a message, shoot me a direct message, or email me or anything like that, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. April says I have a girl doing financials now, but everything is watched. Only me and the GC are signers. You're welcome, Angie. Yep, you're welcome, April. Hopefully, I was able to provide you guys with some value. If I can help you with anything else, let me know. Reach out to me if you're a contractor and you're interested in getting help in your business. I have several different programs at different price points that can help you. Just reach out to me. More than happy to share that with you. And until next time, guys, have a great rest of your week. And I appreciate you hanging out with me. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.